after that. Well, I had no idea, and I'm there, and
sold it. It wouldn't get sold.
Good job, folks. Congratulations.
Here.
Hey, Chuck! Hello, sir. Hi.
should I hear a little noise, you said?
Yeah, I'm just saying they're.
Oh, when they come down, I start.
You can start now, but it
Uh-huh.
just take them a second to.
Okay, and I'm facing the...
Yep.
Uh-huh. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in the air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please have a seat. A very good morning to all of you. How are you feeling this morning? Are you excited? We're excited to have you here as well. To our graduates, congratulations. Well done. You've been faithful with the many gifts, talents, educational opportunities entrusted to you. Your many years of sacrifice and hard work have not and will not be in vain. Now you will be entrusted with greater professional responsibilities and privileges. This graduation day of celebration held in your honor is just the beginning of many lifelong rewards that will come from your labor of love. Today, we stand in awe of your achievements. We want you to know that Brown is proud of you. We love you. You will always hold a special place of honor in the heart of this institution. Now, however you pray, however you meditate, express gratitude, or center yourself, you are welcome to join me in this moment of invocation. Spirit of the living God, we seek and welcome you into this place. We marvel at the works of your hands and acknowledge that all good things come from you, including this beautiful graduation day that you have created. Fall fresh upon us, grant us the capacity to truly celebrate the accomplishments of these brilliant and gifted graduates as we confer upon them their well-deserved and earned doctoral degrees from Brown University. Lord, we thank you for the rich, beautiful diversity of people, ideas gathered here. This too is a gift from you, and we joyfully receive and celebrate it. This morning, we come before you with hearts full of gratitude and joy. We honor the countless hours of reading, writing, researching, teaching, presenting, and persevering through obstacles that have brought each graduate to this day. We give thanks for the communities who supported them, families who cheer them on, friends who walk alongside of them, faculty and staff who invested deeply in them. Thank you for every hand and heart that contributed to shaping these remarkable individuals. Lord, bless all that will take place in this ceremony. May your hand of protection and guidance be upon all of us this morning. Amen.
Good morning. I am Thomas A. Lewis, Dean of the Graduate School, and it's my tremendous privilege to welcome you to this celebration and to confer the doctoral degrees of Brown University. I would like to begin by thanking doctoral candidate Adelia Faizulini for her performance of our national anthem, and as well as Reverend Demosthenes for his invocation. I would also like to share an acknowledgement of the land where we are seated today. Brown University is located in Providence, Rhode Island, on lands that are within the ancestral homelands of the Narragansett Indian tribe. We acknowledge that beginning with colonization and continuing for centuries, the Narragansett Indian tribe have been dispossessed of most of their ancestral lands in Rhode Island by the actions of individuals and institutions. We acknowledge our responsibility to understand and respond to those actions. The Narragansett Indian tribe, whose ancestors stewarded these lands with great care, continues as a sovereign nation today. We commit to working together to honor our past and build our future with truth. Next, I would like to recognize the candidates and those who have supported them along their journeys. Let me begin with the candidates themselves. Ascendant, that means stand. You will hear this word several times today. Today, we are here to recognize your dedication and your achievements. Now, I welcome parents, spouses, partners, and children of our graduating students, both those who are here with us in Providence and those who are watching from around the world. Will you please stand? And I want to recognize the faculty, advisors, and mentors who have made this possible. Will the faculty please stand? Please be seated. There won't be that much up and down. It will be okay. Don't be nervous. I am thrilled to be here with you, here on Pembroke Field to celebrate your graduation. I love looking out, seeing these faces, and it's truly one of the great honors of this role to get to be with you as you begin and as you conclude your graduate journey here at Brown. Earning a doctoral degree, a Doctor of Philosophy, is a tremendous achievement. It is a long and demanding path, representing the highest degree that can be earned. If you're like me, you didn't quite know what you were getting into when you started. You thought you did, but it has required learning far more material than you probably could have imagined. For most of us, it has included some disappointments, setbacks, cloudy days, maybe even some rain. Some of those were small challenges. Some were perhaps quite substantial. Yet through that, you persevered, you persisted. And despite the challenges that are absolutely integral to the process, I hope that you experienced that sense of confidence that comes from truly grasping new ideas or new techniques, as well as the unique joy that comes from achieving a knowledge or insight that first appeared in human history with you. I am honored to share these final moments with you. I hope that you will stay connected to your peers, your mentors, your program, and to the graduate school. I look forward to hearing about your pursuits, your successes, and the challenges. I know that there will be some of both, but many, many successes. Because this is such a momentous day for our graduates and their families, we want it to go as smoothly as possible. With that in mind, I would ask you to ensure that your cell phones are silenced. Please also note that you can find full details about this ceremony and about Brown's commencement weekend, both on the commencement website and the Brown U app. And a word about photos. We know you are here to capture and very interested in capturing today's special moments. Please keep in mind that professional photographers are also here to capture the moment as each graduate receives their degree and is hooded. As a courtesy to others, we kindly ask you to stay in your seats and take your own photos following the ceremony. Next, it is my pleasure to introduce our stage party. On your far left is Associate Chaplain of the University for the Protestant Community, Reverend Delphin Demosthenes. Next to him is Assistant Dean of Academic Affairs, William Whittles. Maria Suarez, Associate Dean of Student Support, is next. Then you'll see Elizabeth Harrington, Associate Dean for Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies, Research Scholar, and Professor of Medicine. Next to her is Alicia Mosley Austin, Associate Dean of Diversity and Inclusion, who, along with Dean Harrington, will be hooding the graduates. Beside her is Vanessa Ryan, Senior Associate Dean of Student Development. And next is William J. Martin, who received his Ph.D. from Brown in 1995 and is this year's recipient of the Horace Mann Medal. Then Sarah Delaney, who is the Senior Associate Dean of Academic Affairs and Professor of Chemistry. Together, she and Dean Suarez will present the Joukowsky Dissertation Awards. And we are delighted to have with us today Trustee Emeritus William Twaddell, who will be conferring the degrees on behalf of the university. He received his undergraduate degree at Brown in 1963. I now invite Senior Associate Dean of Student Development, Vanessa Ryan, to the podium.
It is my honor to introduce our student speaker, Melaine Ferdinand-King. Melaine was chosen by the Graduate Student Council to address today's graduates. She is graduating with a Doctor of Philosophy degree in Africana Studies. Melaine studies Afro-Surrealism, a literary, theoretical, and artistic genre that uses surrealist conventions to express the experiences of people navigating racism, colonialism, displacement, and political marginalization. Melaine's project explores how the genre offers a means to make sense of the often contradictory realities experienced by people of the Black diaspora throughout the world. As a cultural worker, Melaine's broader interests lie in the use of experimentation and critical civic imagination as a means of social and political change. In her work beyond the Van Wickle Gates, she has curated art exhibits at Brown, RISD, and venues across the world. She's also co-director of the Vanta Guild, Rhode Island's first Afro-diasporic photography collective. She co-founded the RISD Museum's Black Biennial, which has had iterations in 2022, 2024, and she curated a 2023 exhibition titled Poesis, Street Culture and the Art of the City at the Waterfire Arts Center. Most recently, she curated Art and the Freedom Struggle, the works of Mumia Abu Jamal at Brown's Ruth J. Simmons Center. For that project, she assisted with the acquisition of Abu Jamal's archival records, writings, and artwork as part of a Pembroke Center fellowship, making her the Simmons Center's first solo doctoral student curator. From Brick, New Jersey, Melaine holds a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology from Spelman College and is a member of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. She is the recipient of the 2025 Department of Literary Arts Michael S. Harper Memorial Prize. Her address today is entitled Navigating by Starlight, Ph.D.s of Practice.
Distinguished faculty, proud families, honored guests, and most importantly, my fellow doctoral graduates, I am honored to stand before you today. I extend my gratitude to the students, faculty, and families who supported us along this journey. Let's give them a round of applause. I entered Brown's PhD program in Africana Studies in 2018. I brought with me a new leather-bound notebook from my grandmother. I filled the first page with a crafted timeline for my graduate career. It was a neatly ordered list of the aspirational academic milestones I would achieve. Today, that notebook sits on my shelf like a war relic, half filled with abandoned research questions, matcha stains from late nights, and notes that eventually became more interesting than my original thesis. The path I imagined is not the one I traveled, and I suspect many of us share the same experience. Academia has a way of presenting itself as a series of prescribed steps, but the most profound contributions rarely emerge from following these steps without hiccups. As we sit here in our academic regalia, the most traditional of traditional attire, I want to talk about the power of being unconventional, unorthodox, and yes, even strange. My PhD journey included 3 different academic advisors, countless redirections, and moments where my academic work felt disconnected from the communities I cared about. I came to think of this process as navigating by starlight, learning to find my way when conventional maps failed me. Like freedom seekers who traveled the Underground Railroad, reading the North Star and constellations as their guide to liberation, I had to learn to find my way when the expected pathways disappeared altogether. The traditional academic model would have told me to focus solely on my research, to publish in the right journals, to stay within established parameters, to be a serious scholar. But what if our greatest contributions lie in the spaces between disciplines, between institutions, between the academy and the public? In my off-campus work, I've come to understand that meaningful impact often requires what I call strategic strangeness, the willingness to position oneself at uncomfortable intersections and to create new methods when existing ones prove insufficient. My engagement with Africana studies deeply affirmed these alternative ways of knowing and being. Through this education, I learned that we live in a both-and world rather than a binary system of either-or. The knowledge cultivated in my field recognizes no disciplinary boundaries, no artificial divisions between thought and action. During those 7 long years of doctoral study, I found myself not just in the library, but in community education meetings, art galleries, and conversations with local leaders. I wasn't just a student. I was a curator, an archivist, and an organizer. These weren't distractions from my scholarly identity. They were essential extensions of it. The academy often treats such boundary crossing with suspicion. We're encouraged to specialize, to narrow our focus, to speak primarily to others within our fields. But the most pressing challenges of our time, climate change, social inequality, war, and technological advancement demand thinkers who can move fluidly across these domains, those who can translate specialized knowledge into public wisdom. What does it mean to create meaningful impact as scholars? For me, it has meant asking constantly, who benefits from this knowledge? Who is part of this conversation? And who is left out? Confronting these hard questions isn't about doing community service alongside the real work. It is a form of open study that recognizes that knowledge without accessibility is merely privilege hoarding. This approach isn't always comfortable. It doesn't always fit neatly on a CV. It sometimes means saying no to prestigious opportunities that don't align with our values, or saying yes to less glamorous work that does. It means risking failure in public rather than only in the private spaces of peer review. But this is where the magic happens. When we position ourselves at these uncomfortable intersections between disciplines, between theory and practice, we create the conditions for genuine impact. Some of us might be feeling a sense of incompleteness today, that our dissertation isn't quite what we imagined, that there are still unanswered questions, that our contribution feels smaller than we had hoped. I know I do. I want to suggest that this incompleteness isn't a failure, but an invitation to continue the conversation beyond the lab or the library, to allow our work to become an even greater dialogue with the world, proud of the fact that it all began right here at Brown University. The most valuable thing I learned during my doctoral journey wasn't one specific theory or method. It was the process through which I found the capacity to stay present with uncertainty, to follow questions rather than to rush to answers, to build intellectual communities rather than intellectual monuments. The world doesn't need more people who can perfectly perform the role of the traditional scholar. It needs thinkers and creators who can navigate by starlight, thinkers who know how to find their way when institutional maps are not enough. People who can build new pathways between the university and the communities it should serve. Creators who can alchemize their niche expertise into public scholarship. Our times urgently call for change agents who demand different ways of relating to people and to our history. What I learned at Brown, both on and off campus, taught me about the profound value of attending to interconnected struggles that span from domestic to international concerns. It is understanding that the threads connecting my hometown in New Jersey to the neighborhoods in Rhode Island, to Haiti, to the Congo, to Gaza are part of the very same tapestry. We must all use our voices to uplift and to strategize alongside our brothers and sisters across these spaces. As former Brown University president Ruth J. Simmons stated in her recent talk, power is much more potent in the hands of the many, and you'll want to have the public and as many people with you as possible. We have to come together with as much agreement as we can muster. We are a generation of scholars who refuse to accept that our intellectual lives must come at the expense of principled investment and community connection. In the end, it's the actual doing, the process of the work itself, and the people we encounter along the way that means so much more than any title. That notebook I brought with me many years ago remained half empty because I discovered that the most important pages weren't the ones I was writing in isolation. They were the pages of news stories co-created in community among my peers, faculty members, and my fellow graduate students. Amidst COVID-19 and widespread political turmoil, I'd like to think I became a Ph.D. of practice. As we leave this ceremony today, let's carry with us not just the credential we've rightfully earned, but the courage to be strategically strange, to follow unconventional paths, and the celestial navigation that will guide us toward our collective callings. The world desperately needs what we know, but even more, it needs who we are and what we care about. Congratulations, class of 2025. Now go forth and make the history we never imagined.
Melaine, that was fantastic. Thank you very much. We turn now to the Joukowsky Family Foundation Dissertation Prizes. These prizes are named for the Joukowsky family, who have shown great generosity to Brown University over many years. With these prizes, we recognize outstanding achievements in research by Ph.D. recipients in the humanities, the life sciences, the physical sciences, and the social sciences. Recipients of the award were nominated by their departments, and the final selections were made by the Graduate Council, including both faculty members and deans. It is my pleasure to introduce Senior Associate Dean of Academic Affairs, Sarah Delaney, and Associate Dean of Student Support, Maria Suarez, who will confer the awards.
Thank you, Dean Lewis. I am honored to present these awards for outstanding scholarly achievement and will draw nomination letters and abstracts to describe the achievements of our recipients. The winner of the Joukowsky Dissertation Prize in the Humanities is Ella Grunberger-Kirsch, who is receiving her PhD in Classics. Her dissertation is entitled The Memory Writers, A Social and Intellectual History of Shorthand in Late Antiquity. Rather than focusing solely on the well-documented elite male authors who account for the majority of the surviving literary sources, Ella examines the private worlds of enslaved and low-status writers, the scribes, notaries, and stenographers who fostered their own intellectual communities by transcribing text on wax tablets, papyrus, or parchment in the late Roman world. Her dissertation transforms the expansive textual legacy produced between the 2nd and 7th century CE in Latin, Greek, and Syriac. To uncover this hidden history, Ella drew on extensive research from letters, hagiographies, histories, conciliar acts, documentary papyri, legal contracts, seals, and related material evidence where scribes and shorthand writers are mentioned, whether identifying themselves as such or referenced by those dictating or composing the texts. She learned to read late antique shorthand, gained training in the study of ancient papyri, and took classes in Syriac at Harvard. A chapter of Ella's dissertation has been published in the Journal of Roman Studies, and she is currently preparing a monograph based on her full dissertation. This past fall, Ella began her current position as Junior Research Fellow at the University of Cambridge in the UK. Congratulations, Ella. The Zhukowski Dissertation Award in the Life Sciences goes to Xiaowei Zhang, who completed her Ph.D. in biomedical engineering this spring. Her dissertation is entitled Development of Biopolymer-Based Nanoparticle Therapeutics to Combat Staphylococcal Infections. Xiaowei's research focuses on the design of intelligent biopolymer-based nanoparticles capable of precise drug delivery and penetration into mature biofilms, which are one of the most drug-resistant forms of bacterial infection. These nanoparticles are engineered to respond to specific triggers, releasing therapeutic payloads directly at the site of infection. This targeted approach not only increases treatment efficacy, but also minimizes side effects. Beyond her research, Xiaowei has made a significant impact as a mentor and led initiatives as the chair of the International Student Advocacy Committee for the Brown Biomedical Engineering Graduate Student Group. Her dedication to inclusive mentorship has made her a role model for peers and mentees alike. She is a recipient of the Society for Biomaterials Student Star Award and was selected as a Young Scientist participant for the 74th Lindau Nobel Laureate meeting in chemistry held in Lindau, Germany. This past January, Xiaowei began her current role at Pfizer as a DNA-encoded library and pharmacology scientist, where she is continuing to work on developing advanced therapeutics. Congratulations, Xiaowei. The Zhukowski Dissertation Award in the Physical Sciences goes to John Antolik, who is receiving his PhD in engineering. The title of his dissertation is Water Entry of Flexible Impactors. John's dissertation explores how flexibility influences the behavior of objects as they enter water. This work required design and construction of an experimental setup and the development of new theoretical models to overcome long-standing challenges in the field. His commitment to innovation extends beyond his research findings. John developed advanced electronic hardware that was recently certified by the Open Source Hardware Association. Notably, the current industry standard commercial equipment costs nearly $5,000, while his device can be reproduced for less than $100. This dramatic cost reduction reflects John's dedication to making cutting-edge science more accessible to researchers worldwide. The first 3 chapters of John's dissertation have been published or accepted for publication, and the 4th is currently in review. John's research has earned him multiple accolades, including the Simon Ostrach Endowed Fellowship from the Center for Fluid Mechanics, a NASA Rhode Island Space Grant Consortium Graduate Student Fellowship, and a poster featured in the American Physical Society's Gallery of Fluid Motion. Congratulations, John. The Zhukowski Dissertation Award in the Social Sciences goes to Isabella Bellezza Small, who is receiving her PhD in political science today. Her dissertation, entitled Exporting Homeland Security, Network Politics and the Globalization of Border Control, explores how countries work together to manage borders in today's increasingly interconnected world. She dives deeply into how and why countries decide to enter into sensitive customs intelligence sharing agreements, focusing on the crucial roles of trust, professional networks, and social connections that work to shape these decisions. Isabella's dissertation contributes to broader scholarly debates in international relations regarding global governance, borders, and the role of trust and policy networks in resolving intergovernmental cooperation and coordination issues. Isabella plans to revise her dissertation into a book manuscript and is also developing several chapters into standalone articles for submission to peer-reviewed journals. She will join Northwestern University as an assistant professor of international relations this coming fall. Congratulations, Isabella. It is a privilege to recognize these outstanding young scholars.
Thank you, Dean Delaney and Dean Suarez. And again, thank you to the Joukowsky family for their generosity. To the recipients, I add my admiration and congratulations to your truly outstanding contributions to scholarship. I have to say as an aside, the competition for these is truly remarkable, and there are many outstanding dissertations produced. We now turn to the Horace Mann Medal. This award was established in 2003 and is given annually to one Brown Graduate School alumnus or alumna who has made significant contributions to his or her field inside or outside of academia. And it's with great pleasure that I call this year's Horace Mann medalist, William J. Martin, to the podium to receive his honor. Dr. Martin received his doctorate from Brown in 1995 in experimental psychology. His research focused on cannabinoid receptors in nociceptive processing, investigating how the nervous system processes harmful stimuli. This work proved foundational in establishing the critical role of cannabinoid receptors as key regulators of pain transmission and perception in the thalamus of the brain. Following his doctoral work, Dr. Martin completed a postdoctoral fellowship at the Keck Center for Integrative Neuroscience at the University of California, where he investigated neuronal mechanisms underlying pain, its modulations, and pathways leading to chronic pain. After completing the postdoctoral fellowship at Merck, he directed a large research team exploring novel blockers of sodium channels in the brain and TRPV1 receptors, pursuing improved treatments for chronic pain. As a member of the founding management team for Blackthorn Therapeutics, he helped to create an integrated computational platform to accelerate discovery, translation, and development of novel therapeutics for neuropsychiatric disorders. In his current role as Global Therapeutic Area Head of Neuroscience at Johnson & Johnson Innovative Medicine, Dr. Martin leads a team focused on the discovery and development of transformative treatments for individuals with serious neuropsychiatric, neurodegenerative, and ophthalmic disorders. His career trajectory exemplifies the bridge between academic research and pharmaceutical innovation. He has forged a successful career through his work as a neuroscientist, as an innovative and extremely influential leader in the development of therapeutics for neurological and psychiatric disorders, and as an energetic advocate for the world's neuroscience and brain health communities. His prolific academic contributions continue with numerous research articles and reviews spanning basic neuroscience, neuropharmacology, and therapeutics. He holds several patents, including a recent machine learning-based diagnostic classifier. Dr. Martin recently said of his contributions, "Behind everything we do, there is a person, and that person is connected to other people. And making one person's life better makes many people's lives better. And when we make many people's lives better, we improve society. Today, it is my distinct pleasure to acknowledge the contributions of Dr. Martin with the 2025 Horace Mann Medal. Thank you, Dr. Martin.
It is my pleasure to introduce Dominique Barnes, who is a doctoral candidate in biomedical engineering and a master's student in data science through the Open Graduate Education Program. She's also the Vice President of Advocacy for the Graduate Student Council. She will present this year's Wilson DeBlois Award, which honors a staff member who has made outstanding contributions to doctoral students and the graduate school.
We, the Graduate Student Council, are delighted to recognize Rebecca Lafayette's extraordinary dedication to supporting graduate students at Brown, particularly in her role as academic manager in the Department of Health Services Policy and Practice at the School of Public Health. Since joining the department in fall of 2023, Rebecca has gone above and beyond to cultivate a welcoming, well-organized, and student-centered academic environment. Rebecca's commitment to student well-being, her responsiveness to individual needs, and her efforts to reduce administrative burdens have profoundly enhanced the doctoral experience. Whether ensuring prompt reimbursements, holding regular office hours, or planning engaging community events to uplift student perspectives, Rebecca has made a truly meaningful and lasting impact. Her unwavering support and genuine investment in the graduate student success embody the very spirit of the Wilson DeBlois Award. The Graduate Student Council is proud to honor her with this recognition in gratitude for her outstanding contributions to the doctoral community. Congratulations, Rebecca.
We now turn to the conferral of the degrees.
Socii honorandi. Omnes quos ad gradum in philosophia doctoris idionis comprimus vobis presentamus, et eos ad hunc gradum promovere liceat rogamus. Candidati ad gradum in philosophia doctoris ascendant. Autoritate mihi commissa vos ad gradum in philosophia doctoris admitto, omniaque jura e privilegia ad hunc gradum permittia vobis concedo, quare in testimonium haec diplomata vobis solemniter trado.
Please be seated. I now have the honor to present the recipients of the Doctor of Philosophy degree of Brown University. Marquisel Mercedes. Tali Dina Hershkovitz. Junjie Zheng. Naiyuan Zhang. Chiachu Wang. Gauri Manoj Kamat. Jeffrey William Dalton. Shaunuk Day. Bonnie Jones. Courtney Ann Lowe. Julie Valentine Dind. Mariadessa Talley. Donovan Yuri Divino. Navkatan Butra. Guillaume Jean Pognier. Dominic Jeffrey Clavel Bate. Fosca Mataloni. Kieran Saley. Olivia Ann Lafferty. Scott Tristan Jackshaw. Congratulations. M.J. Kuniff. Catherine Eileen Preston. Calvin Bales. Erin May Morissette. Annalise Marie Clayhag. Benjamin Zager. Timothy Donald Ream. Congratulations. Chen Yu Tu. Alexandro de Rosa Menez. Hee-jong Kim. Alexandra McFarland. Congratulations. Harsh Dilip Kumar Jagad. Congratulations. Anush Ranka. Congratulations. Katie Milagros Duarte. Salma Mutwafi. Congratulations. Sarah Grace Davenport. Jonathan Acosta Upegi. Sarah Leah Perlman Shapiro. Congratulations. Pablo Amarca. Congratulations. Allison Morgan LaForge. Congratulations. Anahi Carrera. Cody D. Schultz. Mengjia Liu. Kevin J. Hu. Congratulations. Teresa Lee Chambers Berglund. Aiden B. Bacchus. Congratulations. Tainara Gobetti Borges. Unhe Grace O. Congratulations. Yucheng Xu. Stephanie Yinning Wang. Congratulations. Christopher David Cox. Andres Zambrano. Teun Kwan. Junhua Jung. Dawei C. Zishi Lin. Ning Zhang. Xiaoyu Liun. Yang Wan. Jingxiao Ma. Ahmad Abdelrazak Agiza. Catherine Martell Thompson. Samantha Brady Wietzma. Siyang Hao. Shaunak R. Shende. Wangzhen Liu. Yakai Zhang. Ashley N. Everson. Jare Nai. Jiawei Zhang. Veronica M. Lamastro. Mark Cameron Daly. Kira Doris Dwyer. Samuel Richard Parker. Sophie Corin Brown. Kisu Jung. Jacob Tobias Guzman. Sam Q. Poon. Mingyu Wang. Hantong Chen. Julia Marie Huggins. Congratulations. Sharina Razak. Juniper Rosa Cocomello. Tarek Maxavier Hassani Songhai Brown. Aaron Lizer Fingleton. Rami Yael Mayer. Ivan Cedric Alcantara. Ryan Vincent Thorpe. Brian Kim. Jae-young Sun. Heather Thompson Lawrence. Dominic Joseph Calveo. Mary Hill Hadley. Sertuch Kaya Shen. Mark Robert Agostini, Jr. Gabriel Montero da Silva. James Arthur Kentro. Jennifer Y. Quee. Anna Signe Lally Bach. Noah Daniel Tettenbaum. Ella Kirsch. Wo Yang. Brandon Elijah Armstead. Colin Ganser. Dennis Michael Bonow. Alyssa K. Oakes. Alessio Mazzetto. Akil Bagaria. Eric Michael Klein. Jacqueline M. Howells. Anuri Vijaykumar Soni. Kelsey Rose Babcock. D. Jin. M. Kweku Kwejur Agri. Lucy Chin. Denizalp Guktash. Anna Mariam Alikani. William Richard Nardi. John Gigayoma. Keenan Laurel Wilder. Melaine Jasmine Ferdinand-King. Harper Galen Dine. Sarah Malik Bell. Max Timothy Boyd Piers. Miles Alexander Mundy. Farha Jasmine Mithila. Rachel Elizabeth Nussbaum. Congratulations. Manuel Fernando Moscoso Rojas. Keenan Doc Albab. Tatsuya Warren Daniel. Silverio Gabriel Johnson. Kristen Mary Kimball. Tongyu Zhou. Tali Masachi. Theodora Cole Kuniki. Banu Joshi. Arushi Kaura. Ruchi Mohadeshwar. Yan Lee. Yunyu Shu. Mauricio M. Caceres Bravo. Isabella Beleza Smool. Michael Frederick Neubauer. Hao Yu Shung. Maria Mercedes Ponce de Leon Gari. Luca Rizzotti. Jacob Robert Fabian. Alvaro Enrique Otero Pires. Lucy Ann McInerney. Samuel Jonathan Hinthorn. Gerardo Luis Reyes. Azucena Vanessa Rocha. Chloe Zimmerman Gunsilius. Tyler Barnes Diana. Heilin Yu. Samuel C. Thomas. Russell Kennedy Jones IV. Eric Alexander Ewing. John Marullo. Nihal Vivekanand Nayak. Caroline L. Roquillo. Caitlin Ann Anderson. John Thomas Antolik. Gihuan Bang. Rishab Bardwaj. Austin Coleridge Vaitkus. Hyun Wook Choi. Esther May Weber. Peter Shaggy. Sebastian Rueda. Giovanna Barbosa. Ghulam Murtaza. Alan Gage Donato. Vivek Ramanan. Haiyun Wang. Nigel Kenneth Anderson. Farah Mady Simpson. I wish to report that 239 students have completed their degree requirements this year. Will all doctoral degree candidates please rise?
Videte, igitur, ut probe interreque in emolumentum rei publicae et in Dei hominarum, ut decet eus hoc gradu honoratus vos garatis, sedate doctores in philosophia. Congratulations on receiving your Doctor of Philosophy degree.
Congratulations. You may now be seated. I would like to thank Trustee Emeritus Twaddell, Reverend Demosthenes, and my fellow deans, and the absolutely tremendous staff of the Graduate School for helping make this such a tremendous and successful event. As you go out into the world to serve, in the words of Brown Charter, with usefulness and reputation, in various roles as postdoctoral fellows in government, the private sector, nonprofit organizations, and as faculty in colleges and universities around the world. I ask you to remain connected to Brown as loyal alumni. You are now and will remain an integral part of this university and its traditions. I now proclaim auctoritate mihi commissa declaro ceremonia terminata. Congratulations. The doctoral ceremony will now conclude with a benediction and the alma mater. Afterwards, we ask graduates, families, and guests to remain where they are until the platform party and faculty have left the tent. You may then head to the university ceremony, which will begin at 1:15 on the main green. There are seats there that are reserved for you. I invite Reverend Demosthenes to the podium.
To all the graduates, congratulations, bravo. You've done an amazing job. Take a few seconds to savor this special moment. Breathe it in. This is special. Give yourself a round of applause for a job well done. Now, please join me for the closing blessing. Lord, as these graduates prepare to step into the next chapter of their lives, we ask that you bless them with the right professional opportunities, mentors to help them advance their careers, grant them wisdom to lead, courage to pursue what is right, and resilience for the road ahead. May their minds remain curious, may their hearts compassionate, and their spirits remain strong as they embrace the complexities and the possibilities of this world. May the education they receive at Brown continue to empower them to be thoughtful professors, creative researchers, compelling writers, visionary leaders, and just good citizens of the world. And still in them a deep sense of responsibility, empathy, commitment to truth, justice, and definitely equity. As they go forth from this beloved institution, may their journeys be filled with purpose and meaning. May they find joy in their work, fulfillment in their callings, opportunities to lift others along the way. Bless them with long and successful lives that honor you and continue to bring pride to Brown. In your infinite wisdom we pray. Amen.
Alma mater, we hail thee with loyal devotion, and bring to thine altar our offering of praise. Our hearts well within us with joyful emotion the name of old Brown in loud chorus we raise. The happiest moments of youth's fleeting hours we've passed neath the shades of these time-honored walls. And sorrows as runs and as April brief showers have clouded our lives.
Thank you, and our ceremony is now concluded.